Every wild animal carries an invisible alarm system, constantly measuring distance, speed, posture, sound, smell, direction, and the shape of approaching danger. Before thought has time to form, the body has already made its oldest calculation. If the human comes closer, move away. This reaction is not always learned from experience. In many wild animals, fear of humans appears almost pre-installed by evolution itself. It is as if survival carved one warning into the nervous system. When the upright creature approaches, create distance before the story becomes dangerous. But then a strange situation breaks the normal rules. An animal gets trapped in wire, tangled in rope, buried in mud, or caught in a snare. Suddenly, the same human shape that usually means danger begins cutting, lifting, pulling, and working carefully around the animal's body. From our side, it looks obvious. We are trying to help. We are freeing the animal. We are ending the pain. But from inside the animal's terror, nothing is obvious. Fear does not pause just because rescue has arrived. So the real question is not simply whether animals feel gratitude. The deeper question is whether they can recognize help while fear is screaming. When a wild animal loses the ability to move, its body enters a crisis state humans can barely imagine from the outside. Cortisol floods the bloodstream. Adrenaline spikes. The heart accelerates violently. Muscles lock as every emergency system activates at once. This is not calm waiting. This is a biological countdown. A body preparing for death, escape, or one final desperate fight. In trapped animals, researchers have measured stress responses so extreme they can exceed those seen after collisions, injuries, or even gunshot wounds. That detail changes everything. Sometimes the most terrifying part is not the wound itself. It is the impossibility of movement. To a wild animal, being trapped means the universe has narrowed to one point. Something is coming, and there may be no way out. From outside, the crisis has a recognizable shape. Wide pupils, rigid muscles, shallow breathing, and violent bursts of desperate motion. Wildlife rescuers often describe the animal as disappearing inward, still present in the body, but processing nothing except immediate threat. So when a human steps closer, the animal does not see a rescuer. It sees an apex predator arriving at the worst possible moment. That is why the struggle often becomes worse as help approaches. The animal's nervous system thinks the hunt has reached its final stage. But in some rescues, something changes. The body stops fighting. The panic thins. The animal becomes still, but not in the usual way. It is not always collapse. Sometimes it looks like attention. The animal turns toward the human and waits, searching for a new pattern. This is where the mystery begins, because the animal may not understand kindness, but it may recognize that the expected attack never arrives. In December of 2005, a female humpback whale was found near San Francisco, tangled in heavy crab trap ropes and dragging gear through the water. The lines crossed her mouth, fins, and tail, pulling at her body while she fought just to keep her blowhole above the surface. A rescue team arrived, and divers entered the water carrying knives, knowing one reflexive strike from her tail could kill a person instantly. Then something remarkable happened. The whale stopped thrashing and held herself near the surface while humans with blades moved around her enormous body. For more than an hour, she remained there as the divers cut rope after rope from the places that had been slowly killing her. At moments, she appeared to adjust her body, rotating slightly, extending a fin, or changing angle in ways that gave the divers better access. A 45-ton animal, powerful enough to destroy the entire rescue by accident, chose stillness while strangers worked inches from her skin. The most careful explanation is not instant understanding. It is pattern recognition. A predator and a rescuer do not move the same way. A predator closes distance with pressure, speed, and direct aggression. A rescuer moves slowly, returns to the trap, and avoids escalating the body. The animal's brain searches its archive of danger signals and finds no perfect match. The crisis response loses the shape it was built to fight. The animal may not think, "They are saving me," but it may detect something equally powerful. This is not behaving like an attack. A similar puzzle appears in accounts of trapped wolves. where violent resistance can shift into watchfulness after a calm human changes the rhythm. A wolf caught in a trap may lunge, bite, snarl, and pull because every ancient rule in its body predicts violence is coming. But when the human stops rushing, lowers pressure, holds distance, and avoids sudden movement, the expected predator sequence begins to break apart. Eye contact adds another layer. In mammals, a stare can mean danger, but stable attention without attack is more difficult to classify. The wolf remains afraid, but the fear no longer has a clear target. The alarm does not vanish. It loses its anchor. Some field researchers call this a suspension of the threat response. Not trust, not friendship. A pause inside the machinery of survival. The animal is still calculating. It is still ready. But something about the human does not fit the old template of predator behavior. And then comes the hardest part to explain: what some animals do after the trap opens, after the rope falls away, after escape becomes possible. After the humpback whale was freed, she reportedly circled the divers and approached them one by one in the cold water. She touched them gently before moving on, an action one rescuer described as feeling like gratitude, although scientists handle that word carefully. Because gratitude is an inner state. We can measure contact, timing, distance, direction, and movement. We cannot directly measure meaning. Still, humpback whales have deeply complex social brains, including specialized cells linked to rapid emotional and social processing in large mammals. So the question is not whether the whale had enough intelligence. The question is what that intelligence was doing in that exact moment. Elephants push the mystery even further. Young elephants pulled from mud pits have been documented touching the humans who freed them before walking away. An elephant's trunk is not a casual limb. It is a sensory instrument of extraordinary precision, packed with muscles, nerves, memory, and intention. When an elephant slowly places its trunk against a human hand or arm, it is not random contact. It is investigation. Elephants remember individuals, mourn their dead, revisit bones, recognize themselves in mirrors, and carry social memories across years and distances. So distinguishing between a human who caused harm and a human who ended harm may not be beyond their cognitive world at all. In some rescue cases, animals remain near their rescuers longer than simple fear reduction seems to require. The danger is gone, yet they stay. Running would make sense. Hiding would make sense. But sometimes they watch, touch, circle, or pause before returning to the wild. The honest answer is still uncomfortable. We do not know whether animals understand help in the human sense of the word. What we know is that some animals change when calm humans remove the source of suffering without escalating the threat. They stop fighting. They observe the hands. They orient toward the rescuer. Sometimes, after freedom, they make deliberate contact. Maybe they do not think, "You saved me." Maybe they simply feel the world become less painful because a strange creature came close. But that may be enough. Somewhere between terror and recognition, the animal may understand something simpler than gratitude, but deeper than instinct. The creature approaching is not here to kill. The pressure is ending. The trap is opening. The danger is changing shape. And in that fragile moment, rescue becomes one of the strangest meetings in nature. Fear facing mercy without a shared language. The animal cannot thank us with words. Science cannot fully enter its experience. But the pause, the gaze, and the touch remain difficult to dismiss. Perhaps animals do not always know we are helping. But sometimes they seem to know that something terrible has stopped because we arrived.